The talking, nagging, lucha watching, puro viewing, indie supporting, drinking, cursing, son of a gun of a podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty and co-host Ike Isaacs as they talk wrestling and interview those within the business, bringing positivity back to pro wrestling. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Greetings and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us. We're trying to get back in a normal routine amongst the world of the quarantine. And we're going to do a little housekeeping today. We're going to catch up on some wrestling headlines, something we haven't done for a while. And joining me, speaking of having not done it in a while, joining me in the co-host chair, Ike Isaacs. Ike, how are you?
You know, I'm rocking and rolling, loving the quarantine, man. Loving it.
Yeah, you know what? Me too. I tell my wife all the time that, you know what, social distancing doesn't bother me because I've been social distancing my whole life because I don't like being close to people anyway. And I told her, and I told her, I said, I don't care what happens. I don't care if they come out tomorrow and say this is done. It's gone. I think I'm going to still keep wearing a mask because I think it's good for other things. I think one thing this has revealed about me, I think it's revealed that I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, and that's okay. So
that's true. That is absolutely true.
But I love working from home. I hope that keeps up. I don't ever want to stop that.
Oh yeah, me too. My shoot job, I do not want to go back to the office.
Yes, me either. The rumor is with ours that they're saying it won't be till after the first of the year to even have the discussion anyway. So that's good. I that's comforting to me because I don't want to go away. Man, we had to drive out that way by where my work is for something one day, and I'm like, God, I have not been out this way forever, and I don't want to do this. And I'm like, I was getting like anxiety, and I wasn't even going there. So I don't even.
You're like, man, I gotta wear actual pants when I go to work.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm like, I have to completely relearn my other routines if I ever have to go back, because I've developed a whole new. I mean, literally, it's like if I get up a little late, I can just come in and log in, and it doesn't matter. It does not matter if I've showered or done anything yet. Later I'll take a 15-minute break and shower real quick, and it doesn't matter. But so yeah, if you're listening to us out there, just this, we're not very political here, but this is not politics. It's just health. Just don't be a dick and wear a mask. And if you don't want to wear a mask, just stay home.
That's right.
Come on, it's not going to kill you. I'm not getting into it. I'm not even. We're not here to talk about shit people. We're here to talk about shit wrestling, and that's right. That's what we're here for. So, because this is the podcast that covers real professional wrestling. And usually that means classic, but we're going to talk about some new wrestling headlines. And we're going to do this because, to be frank, just modern wrestling just fucking sucks. And I don't even try with most of it anymore. But I do follow along, and I do watch the headlines, and I do watch clips because that is all I can digest of it. And sometimes you see stuff and you have to shake your head, and it's just like I just want to talk about it or rant about it as it is. But before we dive into all that, let's talk a couple other things. I'm going to let you plug here because you've been busy kind of starting up your own little brand and side project. I'm going to give you a moment here to plug that and tell all the people where they can find your new project and how they can follow that.
Wow, absolutely. So, yeah, like Dave said, you know, me along with a couple other people, including Dave, he's actually been on there.
Yeah, because I don't have enough shit to do, so I'm just gonna keep on keeping. And I've got like 3 other podcasts playing. I don't know what.
Your life is gonna literally be podcasts day after day.
I have too many interests. That's just what it is. So.
No, absolutely. That's kind of where I was coming from. Is I was like hey, I want to do a podcast. I want to do videos. A little bit of everything. But basically, we revamped an old brand called Geek Stew. Basically, we cover everything from, movies to video games to just pop culture in general. Right now, the main things that we're working on is we have a gaming podcast called Control Over C that we release on Wednesdays. And then we also have my series called Horror Stew that covers one of my other passions in life.
That is horror, as in HORROR, not the Stu Hart Canadian pronunciation of horror. As you can be misunderstood here with the wrestling fans. So no, it's horror, as in scary shit.
That's right, scary movies. So we started those, but you can actually check us out on Facebook. It's facebook.com/trythestew, and that's stew as in like beef stew. And then it's Twitter, which is geek_stew. But yeah, go check us out over there.
Of course, look it up on YouTube, because that's where everything's happening. And we will forewarn them, if they look it up on YouTube, there's probably going to be 2 Geek Stews that come up.
There will be.
and they're remarkably both pretty much, I mean, it's still us. It's still you. Yep. But the old that had sat dormant for so long, we just couldn't get back into it. But you will be migrating some of those old videos over onto the new channel over time. And that's some interesting stuff to see us from many moons ago. And so maybe I think we'll have to sit down sometime and we'll have to record just a special, maybe even a one-off podcast. And we'll just have to talk about the history of Geek Stew for people that want to know how this got started, what the stew thing, how that came into be, using the term stew and what it is. And maybe we'll do that sometime. Maybe we'll record a history and talk about the background so people can see that this is not a new thing. This is just a revamp, a relaunch thing. So
been going on damn near a decade, actually, if you think about it.
It is. Yes, and when you started doing this, I started watching some of those old videos, and man, there's some funny stuff. It goes back far enough that we have a Harlem Shake. Is that what it's called? A Harlem Shake video? Yeah, if that tells you how long ago it was. That was the hot thing when we did that. So.
Oh Jesus! 2013 was a wonderful year.
Yeah, but they can't all be 2020.
They can't be all 2020. That's for sure.
Yes, I saw a news story that says, I don't know where it was, somewhere they found a crystal dagger on an archaeological dig or something, and they said, hold that up for the 2020 season finale when the White Walkers come.
That's right.
Because it just gets, just when you think it can't get any crazier, it gets crazier, as does professional wrestling. And that's right, I refer to it as professional wrestling because I refuse to use the term sports entertainment because that's just, my God, that's just ridiculous. But we're going to talk about, we've got some headlines here. And we're going to jump. Some of these we won't talk about too long. And some of them are going to be more in-depth discussions because, well, they just warrant that. And the first one we're going to talk about is an old friend of the show, Brian Pillman Jr., who recently has debuted on Ohio Valley Wrestling. And this is significant for us personally for a couple of reasons. Because while I no longer live in Indiana, you're still in Indiana. And I spent the majority of my life in Indiana, where Ohio Valley Wrestling is a big thing. And they've run consistently for I don't even know how many years. They were once in the WWE developmental territory. They've run over 1,000 TV episodes that used to just be local to the Louisville area, but now because of technology and deals, you can watch them on the Roku app and all kinds of streaming services. So you can literally watch this worldwide. And they also put episodes on YouTube. But they've always had a lot of great talent from the Midwest. And but this is really cool because we're both huge fans of Brian Pillman Jr., and it's very significant to the Dave Dynasty Show because on episode 25 of this little podcast, we had Brian Pillman Jr. on, and you talked to him for, it was a long time, well over an hour. And this was his first wrestling-based public interview that he had ever done. And he had not even started training at this point yet. He had just made the decision to make this career move.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, he had not even jumped into the ring yet. Like this was before that. I remember he literally was on our podcast. He had just gotten back from hot yoga, was eating a tuna sandwich. And he was like, yeah, man, I'm getting ready to get into it. And I can't remember how many years ago it was, but we actually saw him wrestle for the first time. Yeah. I think it was at Black Label Pro in up north somewhere.
Yes, that was his first match, I believe. One of his first matches, at least. Let's put it that way. I don't think it was his first, because his first match he debuted against someone in Indianapolis. We're not going to say his name because he has some recent incidents come up with all with the female persuasion, and he's not a good guy, and we're not going to talk about him on the show. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yes, Bill, and it was a great interview. So I highly suggest. I mean, if you've not heard it, go back. Again, it's episode 25. You can find it on any of our platforms or on YouTube or whatever else. But it was so great because it wasn't even really a discussion on wrestling, but it was a discussion on his life and what he had been through to get to that point. It was almost like when he made this decision to go into wrestling, it was like a life reset for him, and he was washing himself clean of all this stuff in the past, and this was his chance to really, for the first time ever, publicly talk about this stuff, and he did not hold back. He let it all out and talked about everything with his past, with losing his father and the some of the atrocities of his mother, and how the significance of his aunt in his life and his sisters and everything else. And it's not, I don't care if you like or love or hate wrestling or anything. You have to listen to that interview because it's not about wrestling. It's about life. And it'll tug at you, and it'll make you, if you've never even seen Brian Pillman Jr. wrestle, it'll make you a fan of his, and it'll make you root for him, and it'll make you happy to see the success that he is getting here recently.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was going to say too, is especially the thing he's done. Honestly, that is my favorite all-time interview on the Dave Dynasty Show, and I've done a lot.
Yeah, I don't think it can be topped. I just think everything was just right with that situation, with the guy he is and what he's went through, and I mean he's a great guy, and it's remarkable because you hear about people that do bad things and go down bad paths, and there are some of them that it's like, wait, why you don't excuse their actions? You understand why. You understand why they went the way they did, and he had all those excuses to go a really, really wrong way. And he didn't, and thankfully, he did go through some dark times, but thankfully there were people in his life that helped pull him right. And he's doing remarkable stuff. Not only is he on Ohio Valley Wrestling, but he's been on some episodes of AEW Dark. Of course, he was on MLW for a long time, so he is doing spectacular things, and he's still just getting started. He's still young. He's still young in wrestling, and it's remarkable just to see him, even from appearance to appearance, and what you see him, how much he's growing and changing, and how much every time, how much more he looks like his father. It is absolutely remarkable. I watched his premiere episodes on Ohio Valley, and man, it took me back to seeing his dad when he debuted in WCW. Of course, I knew who his dad was when he was in Stampede, but my first real getting to see him was when he's in WCW, and he was exciting and everything else. And Junior's got that same energy and that same spark in him, and he's got that it factor that people talk about, and he's got a huge future ahead of him, and it's so cool to see him do these things.
No, absolutely.
So let's move on then. Our next point, we're going to talk about the National Wrestling Alliance, who they had issues of their own with their vice president, Dave Lagana. Had some accusations filed at him, and it caused NWA and him to part ways, and they cleaned their hands of him. And while that was very appropriate, because Lagana, there were some really, really bad accusations, things he had done, it did fill a hole with the NWA because Dave Lagana was a workhorse for them behind the scenes as far as production goes. And pretty much anything you saw that they did as far as content, he was editing and producing and doing all that pretty much on his own. And so they kind of went on a hiatus, which also coincided with the pandemic and the fact they could not do tapings. And but now they've recently announced that they're going to start being a part of some weekly pay-per-views as part of the United Wrestling Network. Now, the United Wrestling Network is a project of Dave Marquez, who is a part of the NWA, has been an interview for them, and runs Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And this is not people. I see a lot of people online that are kind of up in arms saying, "Well, this is not what I want. I want the weekly NWA Power back on YouTube and this and that." And they've all made it clear this is not replacing that, but they can't do that. They cannot record. They don't want to do empty arena stuff. And right. I think that's a good idea because I watched a little bit of the empty arena, and man, I hate it. I can't stand it. And there's just not there's a hard. It's hard to find a good way to do it. But they can't do those. I mean, they can't access the studio they use. The travel, bringing wrestlers in. But this gives them a chance, as part of these weekly pay-per-views that are being done, to have some of their talent on it and have title matches on it and to be a part. This is not them replacing what they do. This is just them finding an outlet to keep getting exposure, to keep having things. And they've also stated that this enables them, when they're at these pay-per-views, to do things and to film content for their channel. So it's not just going to be what they see. There's going to be stuff behind the scenes and stuff that they can film so that they can continue to put out their own content. So I don't know why. I mean, as usual, people go online and they see a headline and they just assume from there without actually doing some research. And so this is, I mean, to me, it's a unique opportunity. It reminds me of the beginnings. I don't know if you remember of TNA Impact when TNA first started, and they did weekly pay-per-views. And and I don't know. Again, I don't know. They haven't I think this is coming up at the beginning to mid-September, but I've not heard a price point for these or whatever else. So I don't know how that's going to work out, because I can't see people paying very much for a weekly pay-per-view. So I don't know what that's going to be like. I don't know if they're going to have it maybe a subscription service, as in kind of it, because it's going to be part of Fight TV amongst also being able to get it on typical pay-per-view providers. So until there's more information, I don't know what to say. I think it sounds a little promising, at least for them to be able to do something, because they got to do something. You have to have some content. But I think it's a fine line of where they go from here and what they charge for it. But I also have faith that some of those decision makers, I think, will do the right thing. I foresee there being some kind of subscription type monthly payment that you can do to get these. And again, on these pay-per-views, I don't think it's just purely NWA talent, or I know it's not. So you're going to see a lot of other things too. So I think it's interesting. To me, it sounds like a lot of a weekly independent kind of supercard almost, and different guys coming in. And I would say that the NWA will be a marquee part of that. But it's interesting to see where this will go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I 100% agree with that. Especially in the extraordinary times that we live in, businesses of all kinds, they really have to augment how they're conducting themselves. So I feel like, wrestling is no different than that. They're not immune from the pandemic. And, we'll actually talk a little bit about how the, bigger corporations are dealing with it. But I feel like this is a perfectly good way for NWA, as well as any, independent wrestling provider, to still be able to provide a product and do it safely. You know?
I mean, they have to do something. Like I said, they can't do their usual tapings because they can't have a crowd, or they couldn't have any sort of crowd. And that means there's no income. That means they're just paying out of pocket just to give out free content for their YouTube channel. Well, that's hard to do when you're a company that's still trying to find your footing. So I think this is a good thing to partner with them. And the good thing with it is Dave Marquez and his production company, they have all the tools. So all they have to do is fly in talent and have their matches. But Marquez is doing all this. He's got the production company. He's got the staff. So this is, I think, it's an easy way, really, for them, because they already work with Dave Marquez. They already work a lot with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And it's an easy way for them to have content and to film content. And while they're there and they have access to the cameras and everything else, they can film all sorts of stuff. They can film, vignettes and promos and backstage independent of this for their stuff. So I think it's a great opportunity for them. I've heard David Marquez say this is something he's been working on for years, and it's just now was the right time to do it. So I think it's exciting. And again, we need to have more information before I'm really hooked on it, but I'm a huge fan of what NWA does for the most part. And I'm excited to see this, but again, I think the biggest thing you have to see is what the price is going to be, and I'm sure that will be forthcoming. So, but let's go into point 3. And let's talk about the wacky world of Vince McMahon. And if this was a story that I just heard without seeing, I'd still believe it. I really would. And it came out that Vince McMahon it was at WrestleMania, prior to WrestleMania, was showing Rob Gronkowski, Gronk, how to safely take a 10-foot fall off the balcony. Now at WrestleMania, Gronk, I love saying that because it sounds like some weird ass cartoon villain. Gronk was the guest host, or I think just one night at WrestleMania. I don't know, maybe it was both. I don't even know. Don't even care for that matter. And it was in, I think, all the 24/7 thing. Rob was supposed to take a fall or a dive off that. I think he dove into people off this little 10-foot balcony, whatever. But I guess when they were doing some of their walkthrough stuff, Rob was a little nervous because, you don't typically take falls like this, and especially not in the football world where he was from. And Vince was up there talking to him, and Vince just stepped over the rail and fell down onto the crash pad. And did you see this clip? Did you watch it?
I did. I sure did.
And it's surreal to me because I'm used to Vince and the stuff he did in the 90s and the early 2000s, and he took a lot of crap and did a lot of things. But Vince McMahon is 74 fucking years old and diving off this, and man, I don't even know what to say about the McMahon family. I don't. They do some wild. These people are especially Vince. I mean, they're rich off their rocker. When I'm 74 years old, I'm not diving off anything 10 foot tall on purpose, and especially not if I'm loaded. And I don't even know. I mean, but he's always been that thrill seeker like that though. He the one year when Shawn Michaels ziplined down to the ring, Vince did it first in one of the walkthroughs. He does this stuff, and he's just a weird individual. And I don't know. I don't know if it was success. I don't know if it set Rob at ease to know this old man. I mean, there had to be a point of pride. I can't see Rob saying what this old freaking man did, and I can't. I got to do it. So what did you think when you saw it? It was very weird to me to see. I don't know. It was almost surreal because he was in a full suit and everything too. It was weird.
Yeah. So because you gave me like kind of what we were going to talk about, and I had actually seen this clip before you gave me the list. I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, wait a second, who is that? And because it said it was they were making a joke about Gronk being a wimp or something. But then I looked at the comments, I'm like, holy shit, that's Vince McMahon. And I was like, well, first of all, you're right. The McMahon family is insane. Have you seen half of the things that Shane has ever done in his career? But yeah, I was like, okay, this dude, like, I turned 25 this next month, and I wouldn't do that. I would 100% break a hip. But 74-year-old Vince McMahon does it without even batting an eye.
Yeah, and then popped right
insane.
up. Now, I do know he was on a crash pad. I get that. But still, I'm not, first of all, I'm not stepping over the rail to begin with. Because chances are better not, if I'm starting to step over that rail, I'm not going to get on there where I can take the safe fall. I'm tripping on the way over the rail and falling on my head. And it's going to be bad. But it's so, just when you think, and I know this is mild compared to some of the things these guys have done physically and otherwise in the wrestling career, but I see something like this, and just when I think they cannot do anything else, stuff like this pops up, and it's just, and I can't believe we haven't heard the story yet. That this, yeah. I mean, I'm assuming this is coming out for some kind of documentary thing for the network, what I would assume, but I don't know. I don't know what's all of a sudden triggered. I didn't look that far into it to see what triggered this clip suddenly coming out. But I cannot believe we hadn't heard this story. That someone did say, "Oh, you won't believe what Vince did," and it's very weird. And I mean, and then speaking of, it's not on what we were going to discuss, but speaking of the McMahons, just a day or two ago, it was revealed that Shane McMahon's taking over for WWE Creative from Bruce Pritchard. So I don't know what that's all about, and I don't know what has triggered that. If it's just I don't even know. But clearly in the last few weeks, there has been Shane McMahon markings all over the WWE product, and one of those we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Yeah. But right now, we're going to take a quick break. Pay the bills, hear a little bit from the sponsors and those that we support. But when we come back, we'll have a few more headlines. So everybody, stick around. All right, guys, now let me tell you about a sponsor of the Dave Dynasty Show, Manscaped. Now, I know you've heard about Manscaped on lots of other podcasts and out in the internet and everything else, but let me tell you from personal experience, you will not be disappointed with the products from Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com and order yourself a Lawnmower 3.0. Now, let me tell you, you hear all the hype about how this can groom yourself and how you can groom all those places on your body that are hard to reach and that really need some attention. And let me tell you, the hype is all true. This thing is amazing. It is beautiful. It'll get all those nooks and crannies and areas that you need to groom. It's easy to use. It's lightweight. It's durable. It's waterproof. Guys, it's going to get the job done. And you need to get a Lawnmower 3.0. And that's not to mention all the other products that are on manscaped.com. The creams, the colognes, the lotions, the powders, the washes, the deodorants. Guys, they have everything you need for personal hygiene and grooming. You will not be disappointed with the quality, the effectiveness, the ease of use, the great smell, everything with the products that you will get at manscaped.com. And if you go right now to manscaped.com and place an order, use the promo code Dynasty20 and you will get 20% off your order. Plus, you'll be helping out the Dave Dynasty Show. But guys, it's above and beyond that. Look, I don't have any sponsors or plug anything on here that I don't personally believe in, right? Everything that we've ever had on the show as far as sponsorship or our promotional material is stuff that I personally would use. This is stuff that I personally will stand behind and endorse, and Manscaped is no different. I've only had it for a couple weeks, and I have used the Lawnmower 3.0 many times. I am so pleased, and you will be too. Again, go to manscaped.com, place your order, use the promo code Dynasty20 to get 20% off. If you are looking for the best books, DVDs, and posters on classic wrestling nostalgia, then you want to visit crowbarpress.com. There are literally dozens of titles there, including biographies of the likes of Bruiser Brody, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and of course, Dick the Bruiser, as we spoke about here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You want to visit crowbarpress.com for all of your classic wrestling nostalgia needs. Again, that is crowbarpress.com. All right, we're back here on the Dave Dynasty Show. We're going to hit it with our next point. We're going to talk about now, we've talked about WWE and what they're doing. Let's talk about AEW and the fact that on August 27th, coming up within the week, AEW will be doing their first live event with fans in attendance. Now, before anybody gets in any uproar about it, it is an open air arena there in Jacksonville at the Con Zone, and they are only going to 10 to 15% of the capacity. Yeah. And I believe they're actually doing what's called pods, which is they're segmenting off, I think, with plexiglass sections, and the sections are then distanced from the next section, and there's like 4 seats within, and you have to be a family unit in that thing. And we've seen this pop up a few different things in the world. I know in England, I believe there was a concert that did the same kind of thing, and there's lots of things doing this. And I think I think it's a good move. I'm not really big into AEW. I've not been impressed with their product overall. I have a few things I like, but I think as you try to find solutions for the empty arena, I think this is a good step in the right, especially when they have the facility there that's open air at their disposal. I think as long as they are diligent, they say everybody's going to be temperature tested coming in and all this and that. Tony Khan even said that if he finds out that resellers have bought a pod's worth of tickets and are splitting them up amongst people, that those ticket sales will be void, they'll resell them. I'm not sure how they're going to denote that. I don't know how that's going to work. But if they are diligent about it, I think this would be a good way to get some people in there. I think they're looking at somewhere in the 500 to 700 people capacity is what they're going to be there, which that's not great for them. That's a decent little crowd. That's some noise and that's some life. And so I think this is a good solution. When again, it's clear you're not going to be able to have a packed arenas anytime in the near future, and you got to do something. I think this is a pretty good solution to the issue.
No, absolutely, and I would agree. And you even kind of mentioned it, but overseas there are events taking place where they're taking those precautions, making the little cubes, like you said, and it is a good solution, especially given again the extraordinary circumstances that we're living in. And you can't just not do anything. And I've watched some of the wrestling from the mainstream individuals, that are it's lifeless. It really is. There's no excitement. There's nobody there, and it's kind of rough to watch sometimes. So I would agree. This is a good solution to a current ongoing problem with any live event, really.
Yeah, I mean they've had some people at ringside, some lower card talent and stuff, just I don't know, a dozen or so to try to get something, and that's okay. I mean it's a little something, but everything seems so contrived. When when they boo someone, it just seems contrived. But it's when you have to do something. I mean, I watch baseball and the games, are fine and everything else. But then when that moment when you notice and realize that, well, the crowd sound you're hearing is just piped in video game effects, which is literally it's what it is. It's literally like the crowd tracks off of one of their video games, and that's what they're using just so it's not completely silent. It's a little odd. It's a little weird, and you can't help. That's what you focus on. That's all you can hear, and that's all you pay attention to. And it's the same way when they have some of these trainees and things around. You you get caught up listening to some of their hokey responses and contrived. I mean, there's no real energy there. So this is at least a chance to have, hopefully, some real feed off the crowd energy. It's not, granted, it's not what they want. It's not what ideal, but I think it's something. So hopefully it goes well. Again, it may not save their product because they still got a lot of issues with the product. We'll talk about that at another time because they've got issues and I don't know, whatever. So let's go on to a fifth point we were going to talk about, and this is not yet confirmed, but it's a very, very strong rumor that Renee Young is leaving the WWE. Yeah. And I for one believe this. I think this was coming for a while, and you know what, I say good for her because she's a good talent. She's intelligent. She's smart. She's a very good speaker, and she has been so misused and mishandled. Every time they try to give her something, they bring her up and they say they make a thing, say, she's going to be on the commentary team. And then suddenly she's on the commentary team. And then the next thing you know, they're adding a third person and she's just buried and she doesn't get to do anything. And it's a shame because their commentary teams suck and she's talented. She's got it if they would have given her a chance. So I'm glad. And we'll talk about a couple other points, but what's your initial reaction to the rumor that she's leaving?
Yeah, no, I like you said, I would 100% believed it. Honestly, when when John Moxley, when Dean Ambrose left WWE, I thought she was, basically she was going to be right behind him. To kind of follow up on that, I even saw that Triple H even made a statement that he wasn't going to comment on it, but that Renee Young would basically do it on her terms. So, and that, in my opinion, that's all but confirming that she's leaving. But I think it's good for her too. I probably saw it coming. I'm surprised she stayed as long as she did, but no, yeah, 100%. It'll be good for her. Like you said, WWE is notorious for underutilizing their talent, and this is no exception. No exception. And
again, I don't know. Obviously, the huge rumor is that she'll at whatever she can, she'll show up at AEW. That is clearly a distinct possibility. I'm not sure where they would use her at this moment. I'm sure if the opportunity arose, maybe they would reshuffle and find a home for her. And then, of course, it would be ideal for her and her husband because they would be at the same events and they would be able to travel and so on and so forth. But I do know that in the past, Renee Young has expressed that her ultimate goal is she would love someday to work for ESPN. And I could completely see that becoming a reality because I could, like I said, she's talented, she's knowledgeable, she now has experience. I could see a network or something giving her that opportunity. She may go a non-wrestling route. I think that's a distinct possibility. I think she has unlimited possibilities in what she could do. Now, there is a lot of talk that a few weeks back that she got in some hot water because she did release publicly that she had COVID. And the WWE did not want anybody to release when they tested for it. And she did. And there's rumors that caused some heat. But I think this is a long time coming anyway. I don't think I don't think that was anything that was breaking or anything. It might have been something where she might have got reprimanded and she might have said, fine, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to put in my notice and be done with this. And I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not going to, just walk this path. So I don't know. I don't know if that had any part. I don't know. Again, regardless of that, I think this was going to happen. And I think this it's probably a result of the world now. Lots of things have caused people to reevaluate things and to reevaluate their careers and their lives and different things. And it could just be that. It could just be this reduced schedule and some more time to herself and more time with her husband has just caused her to reevaluate what she wants from her career. And again, I hope it's true because she's wasted in WWE, and I would love to see her go on and do something bigger and better somewhere else, whether it be wrestling or not. So, and let's talk now this is our grand finale. And I feel like this is the one that's going to trigger me the most because I have very strong opinions about this one. And we're going to talk about the WWE Thunderdome. Now, we did to say that in this unique situation, people, you got to try stuff and you got to do something. My opinion, this is not the thing to try because this to me appears to be the most asinine creatively thing that they've ever done. Maybe not ever done, but and I say this on multiple levels. Number one, this is not the solution to their problems. Their problem is creatively. It's all you're doing is you're trying to put a bow on a shit product, and it's not going to fix it. Number two, it's recently Jim Cornette on his podcast read off some of he got a copy of some of the things that these people are agreeing to, and it's this weird list of stuff, of how you can dress and what you can do and blah blah. And you can't tell me that somebody is not going to get on one of these screens and is not going to do something without a care if they're dropped or not, just to have that moment of infamy. Whether they are going to flash, whether they're going to flip someone off, whether they're going to put on an AEW shirt, whether they're going to do something vulgar. Who knows? But I've seen the pictures of this thing. It looks like something of a weird-ass movie to me. And it looks odd. It looks... I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know how this is going to be productive. I don't think this is a solution. I guess it's them trying something. But this is when I referred earlier that there's lots of things that has Shane McMahon footprint all over it. I think this has Shane McMahon's footprint all over it. I think this was Shane. I don't know. What do you think of the Thunderdome? And you can be honest. You don't have to agree with me just because I think it's shit.
No, I'm kind of torn because I get it. What's a nice way of putting that? Sometimes there is such a thing as a bad idea. To me, it seems like somebody just, pardon the phrasing, did a line of coke and was like, do you remember the old SmackDown games from 2006 where all of the people in the crowd were flat and looked like cardboard? Let's do that, but in real life. Okay, I get where they're coming from. We want to be able to include people from all around the world to be able to act like they're in a live event because nobody can do that right now. But it was better when I didn't see a bunch of people with a bunch of random stuff behind them, in their homes. And it just doesn't make sense. And like I said, I get it. I understand why they did it, but it's going to fall on its face. I mean, aren't they they're using some stadium down in Florida?
Yeah, they're going to be at the Amway Center in Orlando, and they actually have a residency there. They're going to be there for a while to do all, because clearly you can't move this stuff in and out all the time. So they've got it set up because nothing else is happening in this location. And they're going to do all their filming and tapings there. And man, I know this was Vince and his people and these writers who don't have wrestling experience sitting around, and whether it was Vince or whether it was someone else said, oh, you know what we need? Why can't we just have them digitally, virtually there with these screens? And Vince is like, well, can we do that? Yeah, we just put these screens in, and they could be there off their phones or their tablets or their computers, and it's like they're there and they're watching, and that way they can react and they can cheer and we can have that sound, and it'll be great. And Vince is probably like, make it happen, do it. And it's like nobody thought through what can happen when they do this, because they're making a lot of assumptions here. That number one, everybody that is going to be on this is going to be on their best behavior,
right?
And not just trying to get a viral moment. And we all know that everybody's trying to get a viral moment. So they're doing that. And then just on the technical side, I mean, what happens if one or more of these people, something happens and their internet goes out or flickers, or they lose connection for a moment, or there's a storm in their area, they lose power? Are these screens just going to suddenly go to static? Or what's going to happen? I mean, we just going to have people disappear? Or
So don't quote me on this, because I'm pretty sure somebody that we another podcast, I don't know if I should say their name, but another, I would say Con from In Your, I can't remember their podcast name now.
Oh yeah, Con on In Your House. Yeah,
In Your House. Yeah, they're apparently the oh god, it was NBA. That's basketball, right? Yeah.
Yes.
NBA's doing this too, and he actually got on NBA, he was actually on one of the screens that they did. So I guess the NBA is doing something similar, but I guess you have to kind of wait in a queue. So I'm assuming that WWE is implementing a similar thing. So I would imagine that if somebody goes out,
I don't
swing something.
I don't think that's it, because they had a sign up that's already closed now, right. And the people that were chosen got a link. Part of their agreement they signed says they can't share the link. If the link's discovered is shared, they drop their rights and they won't be blah blah blah. And they have these links now for what I don't know. I think it debuted last night. I don't know, but I know it's going to be at SummerSlam, which I think is this weekend.
Right.
And so I think these people are already picked. I don't think it's first come first serve, and you get in a line. These people are selected,
right? And
they have to log in. It's just I don't know. I mean,
it's odd. It is.
I mean, I guess it's no different than if a screen goes out than having the occasional empty seat for someone that couldn't make it last minute, or I guess, but the screens just look weird to me.
Yeah, just put some stock footage up; it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because I've watched wrestling for 40 fucking years and I'm used to people being out there, and I guess we can't have that,
right?
But the screens just look weird. It's
honestly, I would prefer empty space. I would.
Why not? If you're going to do a resident, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know whether you can get people to consistently come and do the pod type thing like we talked. Right. I don't know. I mean, I understand this is something. And when I first heard the word Thunderdome, I thought, well, what is this? This is just literally seeing that word on Twitter without any looking into it. When it was first mentioned, I thought, they're coming up with some fucking cockamamie cage match, and this is going to be ridiculous. I thought this is going to be another one of their cinematic match things, and I thought, oh my god, what is this? What are they doing? And then I hear what it really is, and I had the same reaction. I was like, what is this?
And you're like, I preferred the other thing. Go back to the other thing.
I mean, I understand. I understand trying something. I understand trying to come up with a creative solution, and I get that. It's weird to me that the biggest wrestling company in the world for the last however many decades, that this is what they came up with. And maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe it will. I don't know. I just do not. I mean, are each one of these monitors, are they wired in for the audio and then mixed? I don't understand how this is going to work. I mean, I'm sure it seems very complicated technically, and I'm sure there's experts on doing this.
Right.
But I mean, I'm assuming there'll be crowd. I could not. Here's the thing. I could not imagine being a wrestler and walking down to the ring and posing and playing off to a bunch of TV monitors of people's faces. I would feel like such an idiot. And I mean, I guess they do enough stuff to make them look like idiots that maybe this just doesn't even matter anymore. But perhaps I'm just too old school. Perhaps I just, I don't know. I mean, what do you go? Can you call a fan out? I mean, if you point and insult someone, how are they going to know that it's them that you're pointing to?
Right. Well, and that also brings up something I was thinking of is, like you'd mentioned, is like the computer monitor, like, is their audio hooked into like the audio that they're going to play during the show? So like, if someone's like kids like screaming in the background, are they going to like pipe in that audio? Or if somebody's, I don't know, fire alarm goes off because, old Sally Sue over here burnt the casserole. Like, is that going to play through the stadium?
I mean, it's not the same. It's not the same as having a crowd reaction, because there's a crowd mentality sometimes.
Right.
And I've been at events where I have yelled and screamed and cheered for people that I don't fucking like or care about just because I got caught up in the moment. And I got caught up with the fact that there's 10,000 other people doing it. And it's like, for that moment, you're yelling and screaming for someone that, you don't really care about.
Right.
So what's going to happen to these people when it's just them? Are they going to yell and scream when it's just them by themselves? And what happens if you have whatever? I don't even know what the number is. If there's like 5,000 of these screens or whatever. And what happens if it's just a couple of them are screaming one way and everybody else is screaming? I don't understand how this is going to work. Or if maybe there won't be sound. Maybe they will put in the canned sound. I don't understand. Right. Because it seems weird to me that someone's going to be sitting in a room in their homes watching this and cheering like they were if they were actually at the event. It's a different reaction. I don't react the same if I watch an event or a sporting event or a show or something on TV than if I was actually there. You talk to a TV monitor or a TV screen more like they can hear you. When you're at the thing, I mean, some people do that, but you don't do it as the same. It's just not, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough details. I'd be curious. Maybe I should go back and watch what the hell SmackDown was like last night and see how it looked. I'm afraid it's going to be appalling to me. Right. It's not, but I do have a morbid curiosity, and I don't know. This all sounds like the plot of one of those horror movies that you'll have to be talking about on your other podcast because it seems really weird. That
Thunderdome sounds like a horror movie.
Yeah. I mean you got 5,000 fans on their monitors and suddenly they disappear from their homes because they're trapped in these monitors in the Thunderdome. It really sounds like a very bad 80s horror movie that and it's probably going to look like it too. Otherwise, I know nothing about SummerSlam. I don't know. Right. I don't know any of the other matches. I know Sonya Deville was supposed to fight Mandy Rose in a hair versus hair match, which I think might be off now. I don't know because did you hear about the kidnapper guy?
No. What?
There was a stalker, this guy that stalked Sonya Deville, showed up at her house and had all the tools. I mean, the tapes and the tools, and it looked like was going to attempt to kidnap, and she wasn't there, but Mandy Rose was there, who was staying with her, and it was weird, and or maybe she was there. I don't know, but they were both. Maybe they both were there, but he was arrested and stuff. It was just weird. You have to look into him. Look up about the Sonya Deville stalking, because I went back and looked at his Twitter. I don't know. It may be down now. I don't know. His Twitter was creepy as hell because his entire Twitter feed for many, many years was just stuff about her, and it was weird. But anyway, and I know that Dominique Mysterio, Ray's son, was supposed to wrestle Seth Rollins. I don't know anything beyond that.
I was like, I didn't even know any of that. So
I don't have a whole lot of interest in any of that anyway. I just don't. I don't know. Modern wrestling just continually lets me down. I just can't watch it. Cannot watch it. And but those are the headlines as we see that I just had to rant and discuss and whatever else. So that's that. Before we sign off, I want you to tell everybody where they can find you on social media and give them one more time the social medias for Geeks Stew.
Absolutely. So you can find me personally on Twitter at Pint-Sized Beast. And then you can find Geek Stew on Twitter at geek_stew. YouTube is youtube.com/Geek Stew. And then Facebook is facebook.com/Try the Stew or just Geek Stew.
Yep, there you go. And you can find me, of course, at the Dave Dynasty, or just go to davedynasty.com. There's everything's there. All the links are there. You can find me everywhere. Most of you probably already do. They probably already follow me. You're probably already Facebook friends with me. You probably already watch my YouTube. That's great. Continue to do all that stuff, please. Continue to support those sponsors and the people that we support on the show. They're all good people doing good things, and they're helping us keep this free every week. And you can also do that by making a Patreon, ongoing Patreon contribution. You don't get anything from us, but hey, it's cool if you give us a little bit of money. We'll take it, and we'll put it all back into the show. Go to patreon.com/The Dave Dynasty, or you can make a one-time contribution at paypal.me/The Dave Dynasty. Again, even if it's just $1 or $2, we know these are hard times, so don't skip a meal on us. Right. We get that, but if you've got it, we'll take it, and it'll all go back into the show and help pay for all of our hosting expenses and equipment expenses and things like that. We don't keep anything for ourselves. We put it back into the show and do all that. And yeah, or you could go to we have a Pro Wrestling Tees store. You can buy a shirt. You can find all that at davedynasty.com. But just look up Dave Dynasty Show on Pro Wrestling Tees. Buy a shirt. That'd be cool. We do like shirts. Buy a shirt, and well, I don't know if they'll let you, but put it on and try to get it on the Thunderdome. I will literally, I don't know what I'll do. I'll buy a gift for someone if they can get a Dave Dynasty Show shirt on the Thunderdome, and they can prove it to me.
That's right.
I'd be pleased. And you'd probably lose your access, but it'd be worth it. It'd be fun. So anyway, get out there and support on the don't literally get out there, but on the internet and support good pro wrestling and good pro wrestlers. If they're a creep and they've been accused of doing something, yeah, fuck them. Don't support them, and don't support any promotions that use them. If they're a joke promotion who does shitty ass stuff and whatever else, fuck them. Don't support them. Support the good shit. And we know it's far and few between, but it's out there. And if you don't know where to go, then just reach out to us. We'll tell you where to go. And and if you want to be a jerk, we'll definitely tell you where to go. And anyway, so that's it for this week, Ike. Thanks for coming on. We'll have you on more regularly as we do more things like this. We're expanding our stuff. We're not just doing Midwest stuff anymore. We've broadened back out like we used to. And we do have some interviews that are going to be coming up in the near future, but we're planning to have a lot more steady stream of content. So we'll do things like this too, just to keep things fresh, and hopefully you enjoyed it. So until next time, go check out Geek Stu and Ike, and make sure you keep supporting the Dave Dynasty Show. And I am Dave Christian. He is Ike Isaacs. And until next time, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.